Welcome back, movie lovers. I'm Josh.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
And with our powers combined, we are Garner Brothers Movie Lovers.
Welcome back, Joseph.
Thanks.
Always good to have you.
It's good to be back.
He's been with us for several videos. You can see them linked here. Maybe it's on this side, I don't know. But today we're going to be doing a bit different of a video. When we did the Morbius review, we had a time-lapse recording of a drawing that was done of Morbius, and we have another drawing.
A drawing that was done. How modest of you.
We found one online, and we're stealing it. But we have another drawing of Black Panther that will be featured as we review Black Panther Wakanda Forever. T'Challa is gone, and heart-shaped herb is gone, so the Black Panther can no longer be a Latino winged-footed man who comes out of the water. He is like, I'm the worst man ever who came out of the water with wing ankles. And then he kills everyone.
And that's the movie. So the film is written and directed by Ryan Coogler, and it stars all the people from the last Black Panther movie with the additions of Dominic Thorne and Tenoch Huerta. And they're all very good. But especially Angela Bassett. I thought she was amazing.
Yes.
Her acting is super good. Letitia Wright was really good too. As Shuri, she has way more heavy lifting in this movie than she has ever had before.
And she does very well. She's got some powerful moments in this movie. Before we jump into everything else, how about the soundtrack?
The score is by Ludwig Göransson, Swedish composer who also scored the first Black Panther film and the first two Creed films.
There was some good stuff with the soundtrack, I thought.
Yeah, there is. In fact, I watched an interview with him in which he talked about the challenge of scoring the film because a lot of the music and the themes from the first Black Panther film were directly tied to the character of T'Challa. And so he didn't feel like he could carry those over as like themes for the Black Panther because they were tied to that Black Panther. And so he had to figure out a new musical identity for Shuri's character, and he had to come up with a musical identity for the underwater people, and he did some interesting things in this film.
What are some things you guys liked about the movie?
There were some interesting themes around death and like what that means for different people in mourning. They did a really good job of illustrating the fact that in war, nobody wins.
I've been beating this dead horse for a while now, but I go to every Marvel movie and watch every Marvel show, and my heart just breaks a little more during Phase 4 because it sucks so bad. And this was great. This was so freaking fun. I loved it. And it was the first time since Spider-Man No Way Home, which wasn't that long ago, but in the MCU years, it was so long
in
ago.
runtime of MCU content, it was a long time ago.
It was like
half
two phases of the MCU ago. And it finally felt like I was back to that warm blanket of the MCU with what I love about the MCU. It was so much better than Thor 2, Thor 4, Thor. It was so much better than the Eternals. It was so much better than Doctor Strange 2 or any of the streaming shows.
I scream like every child should, and if we get some ice.
It was so fun. I was so happy when it was over.
let me just temper that a little bit. When Josh says so fun, what he means is he enjoyed it a ton because it felt like the MCU used to feel. It's not like fun, like, oh, so fun. There are heavy.
Oh, yeah. It's actually super sad. This is like, you will probably cry the whole movie, and it's so fun.
Well, they hit you in the gut right out of the gate because the movie begins with all the characters mourning T'Challa, who was played by Chadwick Boseman, who, of course, he actually died since the last
And in the
MCU
movie,
that he was
T'Challa
in.
dies of an
illness. Yeah, and so there's some rawness there. And when they roll the Marvel intro,
it's silent.
Yeah, it is. Well, there's wind blowing.
Yeah, but
and
there's
it
no
makes
music.
Wow, it's a pretty powerful moment actually.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
Just
Chadwick Boseman.
Just Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, it's kind of what they did with Stan Lee. I'm guessing it's what they might do in the future anytime anybody passes that has had a big impact on the MCU.
Yeah.
But it's a nice tribute. But it's a solemn film. There's a lot of heaviness there, and the themes of war and death they play a major role. And Shuri, as fun as she was in the original Black Panther, she's like a really fun character in that movie, is a very different character in this movie because of everything she's been through. She does a great job. She's very watchable, but she's having a hard life. And so it is a fun movie in that it feels like the old MCU, but it's a heavy movie. It's not all rainbows or anything.
Yeah, well, and that's how the best MCU movies are.
Yeah.
And I guess you should know that when I came out of Avengers Infinity War, when that was over, I leaned over to all my in-laws and I was like, wasn't that awesome? And they're like, literally everyone just died. And I was like, so fun. So, that's a good point. Probably a good idea to throw that in there. Not the happiest movie. But I did have moments in the movie. During the finale, I was just getting goosebumps, and I was like, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life. I do think also that it handled those heavy subjects really well.
Yes, they did.
I also want to say, when superhero comic book movies first came onto the scene, everyone was too serious for silly comic book costumes. When X-Men came out in 2000, everyone was like, nope, everyone will wear black leather outfits and make fun of the yellow spandex. And now they're just like, Namor will come gloriously out of the water, flying on ankle wings. They're just embracing the craziest of comic books, and it's silly.
It is silly.
It is silly,
His
and it
little
is
wings
ridiculous.
flapping in the air look kind of silly.
But I love it. I love it. And I do admit, it's ridiculous. But they were also able to, the way he maneuvers through the air is really cool. And they were able to take this thing that is ultimately very silly and do some cool stuff with it. And I always love that the MCU is able to give you fight sequences, not always, but when they're at their best, able to give you fight sequences that are entertaining and they show you some new stuff. And him maneuvering through the air, taking out ships on his little ankle wings was freaking awesome.
It was way cool, yeah.
I also think, and we're a little divided on this, but I think Namor is an awesome bad guy. I really like him. He's not perfect. He's flawed. But he is on the scale of MCU bad guys, he's up there for me. In fact, I like him. And this is going to be controversial, and people are going to show up at my house, and they're going to murder my children. But I like him more than Killmonger.
I totally disagree. I don't like Namor very much at all. To me, he felt just like a blunt instrument. He will just kill you. He'll blackmail you immediately before he gets to know you. He is completely unreasonable. I didn't like him at all.
It did seem weird. I thought he was going to be more reasonable because there's those scenes where he's basically introducing her to his world underwater, and he seemed really sympathetic, and he was sharing his backstory.
Right.
And
he does clearly care very much for his people. That is
Yeah.
his motivation, and that's why he is as scary as he is.
And to protect them, he will murder everyone.
Yeah, there is, and
Everyone.
I do have to admit, there is a bit of a disconnect there with why he is the way he is. It doesn't.
It just seemed
exactly
like a
make
switch
sense.
flipped when he was talking to her after he had just shown her the city. She was like, "So you want to wage war on everyone above land for this? That doesn't make sense." And he's like, "Yes, that's exactly what I want to do." After he was seeming so sympathetic, but
Well, I think
I get that like they're trying to get his motivations behind the fact that he's just trying to protect the city
and he was like that too before. Like Chris pointed out, every time he does anything, he's ruthless. At the beginning, before you ever see him, he like sends those water people to the ship, the US ship, and just kills
That's why I
everyone.
was surprised when that scene was happening that he was showing so much like human emotion,
Right.
and then he flipped back. Yeah,
But I think that's more.
that's what psychopaths do. I guess.
It's more scary. It's more scary when somebody is calm and controlled, and they are completely aware, but they are still choosing to be crazy wicked and evil.
I did love that introduction to him and the water people. I had no idea Namor was the bad guy in this movie.
Really?
No, I had no idea. So when they first showed up and there were like sirens in the water, it was a very like eerie and interesting introduction to them as people. I thought they did a great job.
Yeah, I think
introducing
all
them.
the fight sequences had great stuff like that. I loved the first introduction we had to them, how they used the siren calls.
Yeah.
I love how in the second introduction to them, they show us during the battle that like they're ridiculously powerful, and even though they get run through, they get back up, and they just like, they're just built differently than the rest of
That
us.
was something that didn't make sense to me, though. I was confused about was just how
Everyone gets stabbed in this movie and doesn't die.
yeah. So that is also something that happens a lot. But when they're fighting in the street, they're trying to protect the scientist girl. I don't know any of their names. What's the lady who's not the princess who's helping rescue?
Her name is the bald lady.
The official name.
I don't remember her.
Well, whoever she is, she has a bunch of killing blows to all of these mer people, and then they get back up, right? And I was like, oh shoot, like how are they going to be able to kill them in the end? Because they can just heal like that. Well, later in the movie, when they're rescuing the princess, they shoot the lady that's holding the princess captive, and she dies. And I was like, what had just happened? I thought they could heal themselves.
I think she asks Namor to heal her when he shows up, and I
And
think he intentionally doesn't to have like reason
Why?
to like go to war
Because
with
he's
Wakanda
the most evil
or-
person who ever evil.
Like, I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I almost got the impression that he could have
So-
healed her and chose not to so that people would be mad at Wakanda, but I don't know.
So he's the one that has the ability to heal. They don't have the ability to heal themselves.
Well, he wasn't on the bridge,
heal
so
anyone
I
on
don't
the
know.
bridge.
I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I just think that the way all of the fight sequences were, they weren't just fight sequences for the sake of fight sequences. There was story being told throughout each of them that made each fight sequence meaningful and fun.
My biggest gripe is character motivations. Namor's one. Like, I don't get Namor. Like, he seems like a schizophrenic character. Like, sometimes he's nice and jokey and fun, and sometimes he is just the most ruthless, and there's a disconnect there for me. But I actually didn't buy Shuri's motivations several times in the film.
And we may have a fix for that, but we can only
Talk about it in spoilers. But yeah, so there were times when I didn't really buy what people were choosing to do or why they would choose to do it then and not sooner, or that's my biggest problem with it. And it was kind of a big problem for me, actually.
Sure.
My biggest gripe was how long it was.
It is 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
I hate long movies.
They
I figured out.
keep getting longer.
Yeah, they sure do. And
Your average Marvel film is
2 hours.
at least
at
2
least.
hours long.
oh, I know.
But
Yeah.
but this is a long one, even for Marvel.
I just felt like they really could have cut out at least 20 minutes. Maybe the story wouldn't have been as fleshed out, but I would have.
Maybe it would have felt like
yeah.
I didn't feel like there was a lot of unnecessary things in the movie. On the same on character motivation, they do try to explain Namor's character motivation, but it's just done through dialogue, and it just doesn't really make much sense.
But I will say, there are some super great moments, interpersonal moments in this film. The most powerful moment in the movie for me was a scene between the Queen and the captain of her honor guard. That was a super emotional scene.
I just thought it was kind of funny. It's not that big of a deal, but the Iron Lady.
Ironheart.
Ironheart. I did find it a little hard to swallow that she'd built an Iron Man suit and she was like 19 years old. But I was shocked when she's like, I've got something coming, and just blows up and kills all
those cops.
Oh, all these cops are dead for sure, because that thing came down and
then
killed
it's this
all
heroic
of them.
moment as they'll come flying through the fire when they just murdered all those cops, and now those
I was
little
like,
kids
that
aren't going to have a
19-year-old
daddy
just
anymore.
Murdered so many cops.
As a contrast, though, think about Winter Soldier. That scene where Bucky and Cap are fighting in the stairwell, all those guys that came to kill
that
him.
scene was awesome.
And Captain America is like
He's
very carefully
he's
trying to
just
make sure
saving
nobody
everyone
dies while Bucky's trying to kill everybody.
Well, it's also a big theme with like this main superhero.
You can't kill
morally
this
right?
scientist girl.
So
Kill all of the police officers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. I think maybe the reason it was so jarring for me is because she was like your classic like college girl.
Right.
It was like, and then she just murdered so many people, and I was like,
It is funny because, like, in Iron Man 2, all of the world's greatest scientists from other countries are trying to make Iron Man suits, and they just can't figure it out. But
this
this
19-year-old average
college girl,
income MIT student,
that's why I
She
found it
can
hard
do
to
it.
swallow.
it's her school project and uses it, and it works great.
and nobody else can make that in the world. Well, she is supposed to be the heir apparent to Tony Stark.
Anyway, I think are we ready to go to spoilers? Should we rate it here, or do we have more we want to cover? Because we've been doing this for a minute now.
Yeah, we have.
We're going to rate it now. It's time for Good, Fine, Bad.
Good! Fine. Good. Bad.
Fine.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Joe, why don't you start us today? Good, Fine, Bad. Sorry.
Oh gosh, Josh, my hair is ruined now. I would give it a fine plus. It would have been good if it were just way shorter for me.
Very good.
Very good?
No.
He said very good.
I did not.
Cue the cheering children.
No, I'm actually struggling with this one because I thought that the film had great moments, but I have major problems with character motivations. I'm gonna go with good minus.
See, I'm thinking right now about how I rated Black Adam good.
Yeah.
This is way better than Black Adam. But I don't know if this movie's good enough to be...
That's what's going to flash across the screen. Way better than Black Adam.
But I don't know if this movie is good enough to be labeled as...
Good, great, fantastic fireworks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to rate it good, but with a little qualifier that it is better than Black Adam. The difference is...
You thought it was really good. You came out of that movie like, I loved that. Like, you had such a good time.
Well, I loved that it was what I've been wanting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good, great, fantastic fireworks, but it was good. It was a good movie. I liked it. So, there you have it. I think you should go see this movie in theaters.
I think if you enjoy MCU movies, definitely go see it.
You should
in
go
theaters.
see this. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, give us a like. Share the video if you wanna.
Subscribe. You could be our 72nd subscriber.
Yeah, the big 72. Everyone always gets on those comments. Number 72.
If you're number 72, we're gonna mail you a special gift.
Some white powder. until next time, are we all done then?
Yes, we're done.
Wait. Continue.
Also, keep waiting. I have to grab my phone. I have some of my thoughts just so that I can get back on it. I can't remember if
He's farting.
some of them.
He's farting.
You're right. Let me just get this out.